Well, hello there. Are you ready for another true crime time? With Junebug, that's me. And Bippin Philip. And today, also special guest, Mr. Peanut Butter. Mr. Peanut is trademarked. So this is Mr. Peanut Butter. Again, Susan is right out of shot. She wants to be involved, but not that much. We are doing something a bit, I don't know why I did that hand movement, a bit different with this true crime. I would say crime is involved, but not murder, which is good, which is nice. But today, well, let me explain how I got here. Do you know those random articles that'll pop up for Microsoft? And they're very clickbaity, but you know what? They get me every time. It was Snazzy Islands or whatever. Something about islands. I'm like, well, I love islands. I'll click on it. I'm a middle-aged woman at heart. But I discovered a place called the Isle of Demons. I'm like, well, what is that? So that's when I did all the research, and we are here today. So we're talking about the truth about the Isle of Demons. I had not heard of the Isle of Demons until this. So let me spit some sick facts your way if you hadn't heard it either. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I have work brain. But the Isle of Demons, what is it? It's an Isle of Demons. But it's an island first put on a map in 1508. So we're going way back. We're going 1500s, baby. Beginning of 1500s. And this Isle of Demons, first discovered in 1508, was off the coast. I believe it looks like Newfoundland, but I believe it's Newfoundland. Newfoundland, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Canada, Newfoundland, Canada. When the French were first exploring Canada is when this island was discovered, or isle. I don't quite know the difference between island and isle. Now this island, for the explorers going through, or people bringing supplies, or sick of the new land going back home, just transport, going back and forth in this area, it struck fear into their hearts of any sailor, anyone traveling, especially coming to the new land, because they're worried they might run into it. And those who sailed near it, because they could see it, they would hear strange noises coming from it, and it was believed there's evil spirits and demons on the island, which hence the name Isle of Demons. But they also believed wild beasts roaming the land. They didn't specify what kind of beasts. They just said beasts. Pardon my Midwestern Michigander accent. We don't tend to overpronounce things. Beasts. Good example is the word mirror. To us, it comes out just mirror instead of mirror. So if things sound a bit one syllable, it's just how we speak, okay? I'm trying. So wild beasts. And ships were said to be attacked by these entities, or these beasts, the demons, the evil spirits, if they got too close to the island. So they would try to stick far away from this island as much as they could. And anyone who set foot on that island, never seen again. They would perish on the island. They assumed they were perished from the spirits and the beasts and the demons from the Isle of Demons. Not many people set foot on this island, but I mean, they're first exploring the area. Discover a place, you gotta go there first. Now, people trying to survive there would be put to the test in 1542. Possibly, because this is the middle 1500s. The dates could be off by a couple of years. Just take it with a grain of salt. 1542. Now, introducing, I believe, pronouncing her name, Marguerite de la Roque. I like her name. It's got a nice flow to it. Unknown when and where she was born. It was maybe guesstimated it was 1515. No idea if it's true. From France. She's French. We know that. Hence her name, Marguerite de la Roque. She was also related to, we know she was related to Jean-Francois. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Not Jean Francis, I believe it's Jean-Francois. Oh, Jean-Francois de la Roque. Oh, so his, oh, I didn't finish saying his whole name yet. Okay, it was Jean-Francois de la Roque de Rabeval. There we go. I will not say that name the whole time. We'll just go by Roberval. Roberval? Roberval? A Betterval? I don't know how to do that French. But he was related to Marguerite. This is important to the story. Case story. He was a nobleman privateer who was well liked by Francis I of France. Francis of France. I like it. So it's not a poor family they come from. They're obviously not like King Francis level wealthy, but they're not scrounging for scraps. So I guess maybe a middle class-ish for them. And because this was so long ago in the 1500s, and facts are a bit iffy, we know they're related. Marguerite and Jean-Francois were related, but we do not know if it's, some people have said he was her uncle, some have said he was her brother, and some have said cousin. We know it was not spousal or father-daughter. We don't know how they're related, but they are related. Now, in 1541, Jean-Francois was made Lieutenant General of New France, which is Canada, and was sent the following year to New France. And he took Marguerite with him, which I think was quite nice. Well, maybe not. I don't know how those long voyages were on those ships. They probably weren't that great. And it was stated specifically, Marguerite was young and unmarried when she made this journey. Just fun facts, I guess. Now, while on this long-ass ship ride, because you know it took months, probably even a year, I wonder. But Marguerite fell in love with a young man on the ship whilst on the voyage. You would think, oh, how sweet, passes the time, makes every day a bit more exciting on a ship. But Jean-Francois, he was pissed. He was pissed. No loving on this boat. It was said that he was motivated to be pissed by his morals. Said, I forgot what type of fraction of religion, like there's Catholic, there's Lutheran, it was one of his factions, the factions, I don't believe it was Catholic, but I cannot remember which one, that motivated him to be disgusted / pissed. But also the fact, it was brought up that he was in debt, and we'll get to that in a minute, why that has anything to do with it. Basically, he was mad. She fell in love when, like, they're not married, basically, I feel like. So, when they were almost to New France, he abandoned Marguerite, her lover, and her maidservant. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Damien? It's a woman. Damienne. Damien? On the Isle of Demons, he abandoned all three of them. And he and the rest of the ship continued on to New France. He just abandoned them because he was mad she was in love with someone, basically. And it's also been debated if he kicked Marguerite off the boat first and then the lover was just like, wait, I'll go with you. Or if the lover was kicked off the boat first and Marguerite was like, wait, I'll go with you. And then poor maidservant was just had to tag along. It's been debated, but all three of them were abandoned on the Isle of Demons. And I do want to say, I keep saying her lover because it's never learned who her lover was. Some have said to protect his heritage, that he came from a richer family. I obviously don't know if that's true, but we never know exactly who he is. It's just referred to as her lover. And then when they're abandoned on the island, it is unknown exactly when Marguerite became pregnant, but she would give birth on the Isle of Demons. But then, unfortunately, the baby would die shortly after birth due to lack of milk, they theorized, because Marguerite's diet was not doing so hot when she was abandoned on the Isle of Demons. but they did beat the first odds of people assumed you would die right away on the Isle of Demons. She managed to give birth there. It's debated if she was pregnant, she got pregnant on the boat, or she got pregnant on the island. It's more believed she got pregnant on the island because there's not a lot of privacy on the ship, but we don't know. She did have a baby, and the baby shortly passed away though. After losing the baby, sadly, the baby's father, Marguerite's lover, would pass as well. We don't know what from. I assume lack of food as well, or a disease, an infection. You never know at this time period, anything could get you. And then a little while later, Damien the maidservant died as well. Again, we don't know what got to her either, but Marguerite would survive. She beat the Isle of Demons, and we know she survived because she was rescued by traveling fishermen years later. She was on that island by herself for years. Granted, I don't know how long baby and baby daddy and maidservant survived, but she was on the island for years. I'm guessing she was by herself for a couple of years too. They guesstimated it was 2 to 3 years, or maybe even longer, she was on her own on the Isle of Demons. And she went back to France after her rescue and became somewhat of a celebrity, which, I mean, I find her fascinating. She became a school mistress. Wondering if she taught how to survive on the Isle of Demons, but probably not. And said she settled in Nontron, Nontron, France, Nontron, France. And just like her beginnings, this is kind of where things get iffy of what happened afterward. It's never known if anything happened between Marguerite and Jean-Francois, because she survived and was rescued off the island. If she was like, excuse you, sir, Mr. Uncle or cousin or brother. But it's never known if there was a confrontation or anything, or if his debt wasn't repaid off. Because the reason he abandoned her was he imagined, I don't know what he was thinking, he was in debt. They theorized either he did this due to his morals or the fact he was in debt, and if he got rid of Marguerite, if he can somehow earn money from that. That was a bit iffy. So I'm not quite sure what he was hoping for. But I don't know if anything ever happened like between them, if there was a confrontation. Marguerite was probably very tired at this time. But we do know Jean-Francois died in 1560. And we never know if she got married or had a family. And we also don't know when and where she died. I assume France, but that's a guess. Borders were changing quite a lot back then. It's kind of sad not knowing if she got not remarried. Her and Loverboy were never technically married. If she got married or had a family, if that truly was like the love of her life, and she's like, well, that was a nice time, and she just didn't find anyone again. I feel like she would have had to, given the time period. Like, I feel like just people had to be married then. But never known what happened to her. Maybe in like French archives, but I couldn't find when and where she passed, or how she passed, or what happened to Marguerite, minus see a badass bitch. Okay. Now, the biggest question here is, how did she survive the Isle of Demons? She's the only known survivor that we have, I think. But the truth is, it's not real. The Isle of Demons is not a real island. It's a phantom island, meaning when they were first starting to make these maps, sometimes they just have landmarks that were not there. Isle of Demons, not real. The story is real. Marguerite de la Roque was a real woman, still a badass woman, who survived on an island all by herself for years, I'm pretty sure. Again, this was 1500, so I mean, I don't know like 100%, but pretty sure this was real. But the Isle of Demons was actually either Harrington Harbor or Quirpon Island. which are, I'll put a map up here. They're not close to each other. So I don't know how it's such a, like, why these two. But they also had a full-blown fake island on a map, so I mean, anything's possible. Now, I personally believe Harrington Harbor might be the quote-unquote real island that she was abandoned on, they thought was the Isle of Demons, because there is a Marguerite's Cave where they think she was, where she survived and lived. Like, that's where she stayed. It's now an attraction, which now I want to go there. Of course. But obviously, I don't know for sure which island it is, and we might never know for sure, for certain. I just personally think it might be Harrington Harbor. And the Isle of Demons, another reason why it might have been on the map. One, because they're still learning about the geography of the world back then. I mean, let's cut them some slack. But there was a bigger island on older maps mentioned, called Satanazes? Satanazes? It looks like Satan Azes. Satanazes? Which is basically Isle of Demons, Satan, like evil island near South America. And they believe whoever made this map in 1508 took that idea and plopped it to where they would be to incorporate it into their map. We don't know if this is 100% true, but it is believed Satanazes was an inspiration for the Isle of Demons. And the fact that if you look at that area, there's a lot of little islands and capes and things like that. I mean, if you're just looking at islands all head on the whole time, you're bound to get confused. But the Isle of Demons did stop appearing on maps in the mid-17th century, so the 1600s. So it was on maps for over 100 years. Many people's whole lives could have believed the Isle of Demons was real. And to Marguerite, no matter what island she was on, that was probably an Isle of Demons for her because she was the only one, and everyone she was close to and abandoned on the island with perished. So like I said, it's a bit different, this true crime. It's not necessarily like a crime, because 1500s laws were very different than what they are now. So nowadays, if you just abandon like a relative on an island in the middle of nowhere, that's a crime. You can't do that. So there was that. And I think, obviously I don't know Marguerite's age at the time because we don't know exactly when she was born. She might have been a teenager. She may not have even been like an illegal adult and he just abandoned her on an island of demons, he thought, because he didn't agree with her lover boy. So not legal, and I feel like that's a crime in my mind, especially in today's terms. Back then, maybe it was the very common thing. I don't know. But I heard this and I thought it sounded so cool. Well, not cool that he did that. That was very rude. But like, Marguerite is such a badass bitch. Now I'm thinking I want to do a mini badass woman series. So let me know if you're interested in that below, because I already found 2 other badass women. I'm like, oh, I am intrigued. But now I also want to read the book about Marguerite de la Roque. Someone wrote hundreds of years later, like came out in the 80s or 90s, maybe even 70s. I forgot the name because I wrote it down on my phone, which is recording this, so I'll put it up here. Now I want to read this book, and maybe I'll tell you how it is. I hear it's pretty good. Obviously, it's a like fictionalized version of this because we don't truly know what happened with Marguerite on the island, but now I want to read it. So I hope you like this slight change of pace. Sorry I'm a bit out there. My mind's a bit crazy. I had to make a second cup of caffeine. It's matcha. Sorry, Susan didn't participate. And I have no idea what the next true crime's gonna be. Maybe I'll do another weird one. Maybe I'll go back to the usual ones. Who knows? But anyway, thanks for watching. And let me know if you had heard of the Isle of Demons or if you liked learning about it and Marguerite. Well, bye guys.